Welcome, residents, to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and across from me is the doctor himself.
Konnichiwa.
You're like, oh, I guess.
I did that.
Hold on.
Patreon.
Guan.
Oh, never mind. I regret it. I regret all of it.
Yeah, I'm really happy that we're here right now.
Come on.
I forgot what episode it was. Hell yeah. We're bubbly.
Yeah.
Crack open a bubbly, baby.
Yeah, crack open a fucking flavored soda water.
Yeah, we're about to go fucking down.
It's happening. Honestly, blueberry was a relatively popular flavor in Japan.
Is it?
Top 3 flavors of things like that are sweet.
Up on the board?
Yeah, survey says strawberry. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Obsessed with strawberry.
Yeah.
Grape.
Right in the mouth?
I cannot overstate how much I made that joke.
And to like laugh and applause and like people holding you over your shoulders and like what rocking around.
And 3,
obviously,
blueberry.
I know Haskap is big there as well.
Well, that makes sense with the love of blueberry.
Yeah, they are huge into Haskap. That's part of the reason why they love the Yukon Haskap so much.
Interesting.
And part of the reason why we even have Haskap is because they were brought from Japan.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're not native to the Yukon. They were brought here.
Well,
because of our climate, because they do better in like northern weather.
Interesting.
Yeah, now you know about Haskaps, baby.
That's pretty. I can Haskap.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. All your cap has belonged to us.
Nice. That's cool, man. That's pretty good.
I'm like kind of like a meme lord, like Elon.
And that's the best thing you could be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But each week we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you.
Make comedy legal.
Yeah. Again.
It's like such an old, like everything moves so fast. With,
I know.
I
know. This was old when we were telling it.
100%.
Let alone when it comes out.
Yep. We're on the march to the 500th episode.
Let's say April 1st. Tomorrow.
Yeah. So it'll be April 2nd.
It'll be run the April.
Oh, I see. I'm actually a little upset that took me that long. I need to apologize.
Oh,
I'm taking some time to work on myself.
Oh, yeah.
I'm open
listening and
learning about cool puns with the word March.
Yeah, I'd expect more from you, to be honest.
I never meant to offend April by not getting the joke.
Good,
yeah, we're fast approaching 500 episodes, which is insane.
Fucking yikes.
We've got some fun stuff planned in the lead up.
Oh, yeah.
To the 500th episode.
Oh, baby. We're going to earn that 500.
We're going to earn it. You're all going to earn it.
Oh, you'll all pay.
But yeah, so today's 498.
498.
If you can believe it.
I can't. I won't.
Oh, okay.
It's 497.
We just put out 2 497s, skipped to 499. Honestly, don't threaten me with a good time.
When have we ever done a ludicrous thing like that?
So many episodes of just like, flip.
No. We're putting out a 15-minute episode. Go fuck yourself.
So funny. Yeah, it's 500 episodes, but it's really more like 480.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
well,
God, remember when we used to do extra episodes?
Oh, I know. We were young.
It's like fucking because it was somebody's birthday and like we did it wild.
Yeah.
The halcyon days.
Not now.
No, you're lucky if you get an episode this week. Did we even put out an episode this week?
Listen, I don't. Most weeks we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC.
Some weeks.
A week.
Yeah, sometimes.
At our choosing.
Yeah, depending on the wind.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm back from my trip. You did a commendable job putting out episodes while I was gone.
Oh, baby. We were finding our groove.
What?
The Producer Richard podcast was going
It was
strong.
fine. It was fine.
No, you said it. I
said
did
it was
a good
commendable.
job. I did a good job.
It was commendable. That's the way of saying you exceeded expectations.
That's all I've ever wanted.
Yeah.
I remember
You did a good job with the Batman one, though. I was like, oh, he read it.
Yeah, I did.
He's trying.
in grade school, I got the most improved student award, and I always felt like an underhanded compliment.
I mean, it is, but it also, you have to improve. And you can't just get as much
Coming
better.
from the guy that's, unless he's good at something, won't do it.
Yeah.
Because you don't improve, you're either good or don't do it.
Yes. And for everyone else, there's a whole spectrum of effort and achievement.
Yeah. That applies for other people.
For me, I am either great or I'm worthless.
Or I'm not doing it.
yeah, or I'm not doing it. We'll never know.
Yeah. Well, and that, so I could be great.
You can't tell me I'm bad at
Yeah,
it.
as
if I
long as
don't.
other people don't know if you're good or bad at it, it doesn't matter.
Listen, I almost said this podcast isn't about me, which is
The least true
a
thing.
fucking lie.
Yeah, that's if anything. I mean, it's less about you than it could have been.
Or that it has been.
I mean, very true. Yeah.
But
Is there a theme this month?
no, it's April.
That's the theme.
Oh, shit. We fucked up.
What did we do?
It's prescribed reading month.
Holy shit!
We fucked up. Oh, shit. Do you know what? The March to 500 is too important.
Well, you want us to count episodes
Sorry,
and
the
have
April to
themes?
500 is
Jeez.
that's
Thank
the theme.
you. That's
The theme is April to 500. Saved it.
nice.
Fucking saved
Fucking
it.
saved it.
Yeah.
Would you rather have prescribed reading or
Yeah. It's the April to 500.
That's right.
So a pun that doesn't work and a theme song that won't work after this week.
I think that still makes sense.
Yeah.
No, it works. Let's talk about Japan, baby.
Yeah,
Let's talk about you and me.
We're two white guys, experts on Japan.
Yeah. Almost as like we did a Black History Month episode once
We did an episode
during Black History Month
during Black History Month
about
about black characters. So read into that what you will.
Yeah. Weird that we gave a whole month to May, but
Yeah, well, I had run out of vetoes by that point. Although that makes me sound like a bigot now.
I wouldn't have done
I
more.
absolutely would not have done that.
Yeah, I didn't even want to do an episode.
Fuck. Now I look like the bad guy. I was trying to protect them.
We really called them.
Fuck. Let's talk about Japan.
Baby.
Let's talk about warm sake.
Whoa.
Let's talk about
All the drinks and soups that come together.
there.
That's right. It's April
It's the April to 500.
Starting with Japan.
This is the worst we've been.
Or the best?
Simply the best. Let's do it.
Okay, yeah. But these are questions about Japan.
About Japanese characters in the DC universe.
Absolutely. Starting with Facebook.
Going to the face of the book, going to the Facebook.
Yeah.
What?
Like a not like a whoa, but more like a yeah, like a kick,
Why?
like karate.
Oh, you're doing Jeb.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is going to be unairable.
Yeah, only just because you don't want to show another culture. You fucking bigot.
And I'm all out of vetoes. I came here to veto ideas or talk about Japan,
And I'm all out of vetoes. First question comes from Christopher Alex Schuler, who asks, what's the deal with Big Atomic Lantern Boy and the super young team? Nice.
Easy.
Hell yeah. How young?
Easy.
Super young.
I don't think that's where the emphasis is meant to be.
Yeah, it's the super young team.
They're a super young team. No, that wasn't. Nope.
Well, that sounds great.
Yeah, so you've read Final Crisis, so you've actually, I know you've encountered super young team.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are like the sort of fame obsessed
Oh, sure.
group
Yeah,
of
yeah.
young Japanese heroes that are like they're like worried about like getting their paparazzi picture or like
Sure.
trending
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that. But they so the roster of Super Young Team is Most Excellent Super Bat, Big Atomic Lantern Boy, Crazy Shy Lolita Canary,
Nice.
Shiny Happy Aquazon, and Well-Spoken Sonic Lightning Flash.
Why throw Lolita? That's not even Japanese.
I honestly, I don't know.
Why call it Super Young Team and then have a name like Lolita in there?
Yeah, I mean, the name is anachronistic, but I would say culturally, it's appropriate in
Yeah.
a way where it's like there's some weird
Yeah, I mean, that is true.
kind
Yeah.
of gross associations with like schoolgirl stuff in
Yeah.
Japan.
Yeah, and the
I
fact
don't
that you're
love.
like, I don't know if this is for kids or for adults.
Yeah, to be clear, I do know. It's not unclear. The problem
You
is
can't
that
even tell how old they
that
are.
their stores are unclear about what section you're in.
True. Your Honor.
But yeah, so Super Young Team was a creation of Grant Morrison and J.G. Jones. They first appear in Final Crisis. The whole thing with Final Crisis is that like the New Gods were dead and then reincarnating in mortal form, right? Darkseid takes over the body of Dan Turpin, and Calabac gets put into like a tiger body. Like all these kind of things are happening. And Super Young Team, it's not really said in Final Crisis, and I'm not sure if you were just reading Final Crisis you would pick up on it, but it was sort of confirmed by Morrison later that their intention was that Super Young Team essentially took on the idea of the Forever People.
Oh,
Which was a
shit.
group of new gods that
Yeah.
lived on Earth. That's like Bear, Mark Moonrider.
Jimmy Olsen, baby. He met with them.
Jimmy Olsen encountered the Forever People. That's right. All that kind of stuff. So, Super Young Team, they don't bear a ton of resemblance, but it is interesting that they are like these heightened versions of celebrity or something like that. 'Cause
Totally.
The thing with at least with like Seraphin was that from the old Forever Peoples that he would like watch westerns and he adopted the western thing because he liked
Oh,
that
sure, yeah.
and that sort of thing. Like, so there is this interesting idea of taking on like a sort of arch part of culture. But yeah, their whole thing is like about chasing fame or being seen being heroes. I think
Kind of Booster Goldie, eh?
yeah, but I think what's interesting is that it's almost more sweet with them because it's like kind of naive. Like Booster Gold's was like, if I'm famous, I'm rich, and blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
And their thing is almost just like, isn't this the point? Like, there's always going to be a fight. There's always going to be whatever. But like, isn't the point just to show up, look good, do the like? There's something kind of almost endearing about them. It's also like an indictment, a little bit of superhero comics.
Feels like The Boys a bit, yeah.
And stuff like that. But yeah, their thing is that they see their powers as like part of their brand.
Yeah.
Than like a thing. So like they don't really
Sounds very much like The Boys.
they don't really get in fights. They spend time like hanging out at like cool clubs, like nightclubs and stuff like that. And they were like, yeah, it's the idea of like the irresponsible younger generation kind of idea.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was the thing with Super Young Team.
But what it's specifically about the character, the Atomic?
I again, like their powers aren't like,
Big Atomic Lantern Boy?
I think, well,
Like, is he a lantern or
he's not like a lantern. I'm pretty sure.
like why make a name like that if it's not connected? It's so weird.
What does he do? He has a harness. Oh, it just shoots energy and stuff. And it's like Most Excellent Super Bat like makes a lot of tech and stuff for them.
Like, is there any connection to what the characters they sound like they are? Like,
Well, only cosmetically. Like, again, it's that idea of like trying to attach to a brand or something like that. But like Big Atomic Lantern Boy has nothing to do with the Lantern.
and the bat has nothing to do with.
It's not associated with Batman. You know, like
Okay.
it's just like attaching to a brand a little
Oh,
bit, you know?
interesting. Yeah. All right. Next question from Chris Landers, who asks, "What's the deal with Sonny Sumo? I thought he and the rest of the Super Young team were new versions of the Forever People, but it turns out it was a pre-existing character. Does he still have ties to the Fourth World?"
Yeah, so in Final Crisis, when you meet Super Young Team, you also meet Sonny Sumo,
Okay.
who's older. He's not like young like them. He's older, and he kind of like tags along with them on this adventure. But that's a reference to the character Sonny. I mean, it's not a reference. It's bringing back the character Sonny Sumo, who was in the Forever People comics. So again, because Final Crisis has everything to do with the Fourth World, anything like that is like digging into the past to pull something
Sure.
out.
Yeah.
And Sonny Sumo is one of them. His thing was that I think he was largely I think he could manipulate his like chi kind of thing. He could like
Sure.
heal himself. In Final Crisis, they make him out to be more like indestructible.
Yeah.
But it was that kind of idea. I don't really remember a ton of like Sonny Sumo in the old comics. I don't think I've actually like read that much with him in it.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure he died.
Oh,
Or
wow.
he got vaporized or like something. And then him showing up in Final Crisis is kind of like is this where you've been? I'm sure there might be something in the middle that I'm forgetting, but like he was sort of forgotten.
Wow.
But yeah, his thing was mostly he teamed up with the Forever People on some adventures and stuff like that. But his thing was that he could like regenerate and that, kind of some superhuman durability kind of stuff more than anything. But he was also like a master sumo wrestler and like was strong because of just his physical training and stuff like that. But he could do some of that kind of stuff.
Wow.
I don't think he was a new god. He was, part of his thing is that it's revealed is that he has the anti-life equation or part of it in him.
Oh, what?
He can control. Yeah, there's a part. This is in the old Forever People too, I think. There's something to do with the anti-life equation. I think in the way that later it was adapted that like Pied Piper has a little bit of the anti-life equation. That's why his flute can do mind control shit.
Sure.
There was something like that with Sonny Sumo, and he uses it somehow, and it pisses off Darkseid.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. With that, let's leave Facebook and head over to Instagram.
Now we're going to Instagram, Queequam questions and answer them.
Fuck you.
Hell yeah.
Fuck. God damn it.
Yeah, you thought it was done? This is the April to 500.
Yeah, what was I thinking? Thank you. First question comes from Ambush Bug in Real Life, who asks, can you talk about Dr. Light's role in the 3 Crisis movies?
So they adapted Crisis on Infinite Earths into 3 animated movies.
Okay.
Which I have seen, but I barely kind of remember them.
Sure.
I don't even think they're bad. I think I was watching them like late
While
at night,
working or something.
I wasn't really doing them justice. League.
Oh.
Fucking nice.
Yeah. By the way, I didn't even mention this to you earlier, but so when I was reading your daughter, who chose a fucking comic book for me to read her,
So proud of her.
You should be more proud though, because like, so we get to because this is the Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover,
Right.
and and Scarecrow is basically like terrifying and like torturing Batman and stuff, and he's having all these visions about all of the bad guys taking over Gotham.
Right.
And there's a page where it's like all of the Batman villains.
Right.
And her fucking ability to name it is
So proud of her.
it's slightly concerning, but also impressive.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know half of them. Like
what?
She was just like, oh, that's Clock King. And I was like, is it? Like, I was like, fucking what? Like, there were some deep cut characters. And she was like, oh, God, she is so much your fucking daughter. Like, she was just like, oh, yeah, I don't know if I know them all. And then started, like, naming off every single one and, like, the deep cut ones. And I'm like, what has he done to you? Like, I'm
So proud.
It is crazy because it's not like they even look like Clock King doesn't look that much like fucking Clock King in this thing. Like, it's not like a version of him where it's like it's a clock for
Was
a
it
head.
like the brown
Yes.
suit one?
Yes.
That's how he looks in Batman the Animated Series, though. And we've watched that episode.
Wild.
That's a Temple Fugit.
Because again, like I only get to see your child's progress in like chunks, and so I'll be in my head I'm like, she barely knows who Batman is,
Right.
And like I pointed her out, I was like, who's that? And she's like, it's Batman. Like,
You idiot.
yeah, and I was just like, all right, well, who's these characters then? And I was like, is that who that is? Fuck, well, she's good. Jesus.
That's really funny.
Yeah. Wild.
I'll let her administer your quiz for the annual.
I mean, truly, probably could.
Yeah.
You could probably do it to both of us, and she'd win.
I mean, yes.
Like,
I
wild.
believe that, yeah.
Wild.
That's hilarious.
Sorry, 3 Crisis. Dr. Light.
Right. So instead, I'm just going to try and talk a bit about Crisis in general.
Sure.
So, Dr. Light, we're not talking about the villain that assaults Sue Dibney.
Sure.
That Dr. Light was a villain, a Teen Titans villain that obviously later we turned him into like a maniacal rapist and
Yeah.
whatever. But during the Crisis on Infinite Earths is the debut of a heroic Dr. Light.
Oh, okay.
The second Dr. Light, Kimio Hoshi. She's a Japanese like astrophysicist or whatever.
Okay.
The Monitor is like in the process of dying or something like that, and shoots this like beam from a star at Earth.
Okay.
And everyone else working in this like observatory or whatever, where they're doing these experiments, is like, this is big ball of energy coming. We're scared. We're leaving. And she goes, "You cucks, I'm staying."
Really?
Because her whole thing is she's like arrogant, you know, like, I don't know. I think there's a way of reading this where it's like, it's not progressive because she's like a female professional, but she needs to like learn how to be humble instead of being.
Sure.
But she is like arrogant and mean and stuff like that. And she goes like, "You fucking cowards." And she stays and she gets hit with this energy. And it gives her this power to manipulate light in all its forms.
Sure.
She becomes this very powerful and relatively central figure in Crisis, as much as you can be in a book that has everyone in it. To the point where she like punches a hole through the anti-monitor.
Whoa.
Like, she absorbs like a whole star or like a solar system or something
Jeez.
worth of light, and like punches a hole through the anti-monitor's armor and like stuff like that.
Wow.
She's very like implicated. She goes on all these kind of quests and that. And she starts learning that maybe she should be a bit more humble in that because of all the death and destruction of Crisis. But her, like, the character thing with Kimio Hoshi is always that she's a little bit arrogant, a little bit too good for it or whatever. She was a member of a few versions of the Justice League. Right. Excuse me. Right now, in the comics, I think she's sort of like a tangential. Like a supporting character in the Atom Project. So, which is a book featuring Ray Palmer, the Atom, Ryan Choi, the Atom.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's fun.
Captain Atom. It all has to do with them trying to figure out, like, in the wake of Absolute Power and Waller taking everyone's powers, some people have their powers mixed up where they didn't get the right ones back, or they came back weird or whatever, and they're trying to deal with that. I've seen her in that, and even in, like, when they kind of cross over, because I'm reading Challengers right now, and you go like, oh, there she is, there's Dr. Light. I think she's relatively underused because that character theoretically is immensely powerful.
Oh, I mean, light. Yeah, I mean, that's everything.
Because
Yeah.
especially when you go like, well, what does light mean? Like we think of light as a very specific thing, but like light is just electromagnetic energy.
Yeah.
Light's just the ones we can see.
Yeah.
So really,
But there's a spectrum that we can't even see.
She
yeah.
can control gamma radiation,
Yeah,
radio
yeah.
waves.
And so then
you
it's
know?
like, she's fucking Dr. Manhattan. It's the same thing with like,
She's got like enormous amounts of power of like harnessing and redistributing energy and things like that, which is pretty cool. I think for a time, I don't know if it's still true, but for a time, it was kind of like the rules like Pyro in the X-Men. There had to be light around for her to manipulate.
sure.
So if it was totally dark, let's forget about gamma rays and
Sure,
stuff like
yeah,
that. If it
yeah,
was totally dark, she was like, fuck, I have no power. Like, she needed light to manipulate. I don't know if that's still true for her or not. But yeah, just like a wildly powerful energy wielder, essentially.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't remember the.
I mean, it's just that she gets implicated in Crisis because so much of this is about like energy and
Sure.
that. There's the antimatter wave. There's all these like positive matter things. She does become a sort of central figure in like trying to harness things to fight the antimatter.
Sure.
It's not like Crisis is about Dr. Light.
No.
Like that's not true, but she does have a role in working alongside the teams of heroes and fighting the anti-monitor and doing these things.
Is that different from the comics to those movies, or?
It is a little bit, but honestly, I remember the movies so poorly that
Sure.
I couldn't tell you which bits they changed.
Fair.
Yeah.
Next question comes from Fandom and Folklore, who asks, is there a DC Comics version of the Yakuza?
There absolutely is.
hell yeah.
We know that.
Did you see any Yakuza while you were in
No.
Japan? Oh. Because I saw the one guy.
I didn't
Or no, I saw two.
I didn't see any.
No.
Yeah.
Probably also weren't looking.
Well, I don't think they like go to the cool market to like have yakitori.
I mean, I saw them in like a cute little town and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
and I saw one in a subway.
No, I never saw.
I also think that you maybe just weren't looking too.
I think I would notice a Japanese person with tattoos because none of them had them.
I mean, that's true.
But yeah, the Yakuza are like absolutely a thing in
Yeah.
DC. Specifically, we know that they exist because they're tied to the backstory of Katana. So Tatsuya Yamashiro, the superhero Katana,
Oh,
who there's many versions of, but like in live action, Katana was on Arrow for a few seasons.
Oh, sure.
Katana was in Suicide Squad alongside
Oh,
Slipknot,
yeah.
The Man Who Can Climb Anything.
yeah.
She's the one that has the Soul Taker sword that traps the souls of the people that it kills.
Yeah.
But her backstory is that her husband and his brother both
Nice.
were in love with her.
Nice.
And she picks the husband, and the brother goes, I'll join the Yakuza. And goes and does that, and then comes back, kills the brother with the Soul Taker sword.
Oh.
And then she fights him. She ends up with it. And so she has the voice of her husband in the sword, like
sure.
talking to her, and it's all this kind of
That's
tragic
good.
thing.
I like that.
But yeah, like even in the New 52, they set it up that it's like she's been killing the shit out of the Yakuza, like in the way that they set up like Hawkeye doing that in Endgame.
Yeah,
Like, what's he been up to?
yeah.
They do that with Katana a lot.
Sure.
So it's not like they're necessarily her main. I guess in a way they're her main bad guys because they're like hers,
Yeah.
as opposed to being part of the Outsiders or
Sure.
like the team things that she's done. But we know that they exist there. To bring it to Sunny Sumo and the like Final Crisis stuff, when we meet Sunny Sumo in Final Crisis, he has a character called Mega Yakuza picks a fight with him, or Mecha Yakuza. or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but yes, it's not that there's a DC version. It's just that they're in DC
Yes.
in the way that like sometimes like Reagan is in DC. Or
But
whatever.
but like mostly shows up with Katana, like
I mean, I there are other stories in Japan, and I'm sure there's like a Batman in Japan story where it's like but the crime bosses are Yakuza instead of like
'cause, like,
the
I think-
Maronis or whatever.
Yeah.
I think the Yakuza probably show up in other ways.
I think
but
when Superman shows up in Japan, that comes up.
I'm sure it does, but like maybe the way they're most tied to like the real DCE things, like the superhero things, is through Katana, probably.
Sure. All right. Well, with that, we will leave Instagram and head it over to Reddit.
Where everyone's nice and no one's ever mean.
Yep, not even once. Galaxy Eyes Ruler, who asks, if you were running DC, what would you do with Dr. Light, Kim Yohoshi?
Right.
I feel she has so much more potential.
Yeah, I think the trouble is you have all of these like lanterns, for example, running around that have
Oh, is there some?
have light and construct powers. You've got a lot of characters that shoot energy things, Starfire or whatever. You've got quite a number of those, and I think at a certain point, people just went like, "What is Kim Yohoshi doing that's different?"
Sure.
I think the piece that we're forgetting is that she's like an incredible scientist. Now, obviously, DC is lousy with those as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, a bit that maybe would be interesting is to really kind of reclaim the arrogance piece a little bit.
Sure.
I think you can make Kim Yohoshi into, I mean, almost the sort of role that Mr. Terrific occupies sometimes, which is like they're very smart, but they're also like a little tough to work with.
Sure. Yeah.
Especially right now in the comics, Mr. Terrific is like a paranoid.
Oh,
Because
interesting.
he's scared. They don't know what happened since Darkseid disappeared. Weird shit's happening in the universe. And he's like, even Batman's like, I don't love how Mr. Terrific works.
Fair.
But you could do something with Kim Yohoshi where like, more in the Terrific way, where it's like she could be a scientist that's like leading things, but like can lead it from like a non-American perspective. Like, I mean, especially in the current climate or whatever, it'd be interesting to see like a more global
Yeah.
kind of like what is her contribution? You know, again, she was like an astrophysicist or something of the like. So if there's some like, not that I want her in space on space adventures, because again, that's like Lantern territory. But if there's something about her using her powers to like advance thing, you know, like maybe actually the person that I'm really thinking of is like John Henry Irons, like Steel.
Oh,
The idea of,
interesting.
like taking your tech or what you are as a superhero and then bringing it into like, how are you going to make the world better? You know, so she can learn some of her lesson from the arrogance. So it's not really about her and her ego necessarily. It's about making the world better, but you can still have her be this eminently capable, interesting hero. She can go on adventures in Asia. We can have like, you know, like something like that might be neat. I mean, all of that is sort of predicated on kind of like maybe following her own book or her own story, or seeing like a Global Guardians kind of thing, or a Justice League International kind of thing, or I don't know that there's, I mean, I shouldn't say this, but I don't know that there's ever going to be an appetite 100% for just a Dr. Light book.
Sure.
But she's also never really been given the chance.
So who knows?
So someone could pull it off, you know?
Yeah.
But even if she was a supporting character in another book, or like a relatively main feature that shows up or helps someone else or comes in for an arc, I think there's something we could do where you can make her like a leader, like a social leader, a technology leader, science leader, as well as being a hero. Because I don't think her as a hero is the most important part of her.
Well, no, I mean, because she's a pretty like uninterested hero. Like she doesn't really want to.
Yeah, it sort of happened by accident. She was pulled into a crisis. There were all these kind of things, you know, like, I think how could her powers inform these other things? And then, of course, people have their designs on it. You know, she has to do superheroing, but something like that. I don't know. Somewhere, I guess I'm kind of putting her somewhere between like Mr. Terrific and like Steel, like the Steelworks.
Yeah. I like that idea.
Kind of idea.
Yeah. All right. Next question from Luchiman, who asks, can you talk about who Junior Waveman is and why does Martian Manhunter show when Googling Japanese DC characters? What?
Okay. So these are two separate questions. Junior Waveman was adopted by the Wavemen, and Senior Waveman was part of Japan's like big superhero team,
Oh, wow.
which is called Big Science Action.
Why do they make names like this?
Because it's like, I think like they're trying to find the, like, you know how like anime like things or manga things sound like you just put random words.
Because like through translation or something, it's not perfect. I get that, but it does feel slightly weird because it's written by white people and like trying to capture an idea rather than through like natural translation.
I kind of agree.
Yeah.
But okay, Big Science Action included characters like Senior Waveman Kimura, who was also called Ultimon. Ultimon was separate. Included a character called Rising Sun. That I think
we talked to him about them before, yeah.
They were in the Global Guardians, and I think Kimio Hoshi had like a romance with them for a bit. A character called Boss Bosozuko, character called Hammersuit Zero X.
Wow.
Nazo Baluda, Cosmo Racer. So they're, it's that idea, like we don't necessarily spend a ton of time with Big Science Action, but it's that idea of like, what are the hero teams of other places?
Yeah.
China has the Great 10.
Oh, yeah. Love the Great 10.
Doomsday Clock kind of threw some ideas out there, like the Doomed in India and stuff like that. Big Science Action is they're just a set of like kind of original heroes. It's not like Super Young Team where it's like we're latching onto branding. And it's not like the Justice League of China where it's like, you're the Superman of China. You're the Batman of China. We're not doing that with them. They're just like, these are Japan's own heroes in the way that like, you have like Beefeater in Britain or
Sure. Yeah.
Jack-o'-lantern in Ireland or Crimson Fox in France or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily know a ton about them. Junior Waveman, as far as I know, is just a kid that gets adopted by Senior Waveman.
So is it like a water thing? Like,
I don't remember.
Okay.
Again, I don't. You don't really spend a ton of time with
Sure.
Big Science Action.
Fair.
I think you spend a lot less time with them than you do with like the Great 10. I think the Great 10 get a lot more
Sure.
play. Like August General and Iron probably shows up in way more shit than anyone in the Big Science Action.
Fair. Yeah. All right. Well, with that, let's leave Reddit and head on over to the doc score.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. It's been a while. I've done it.
Oh, shit.
And I show how easy it could be. I did it so fast.
Always docs on the scored side of docs.
Jesus Christ. Wow. All right. I see where your head's at.
Saved by the musical.
First question comes to us, from Fingers Grace.
Oh, nice.
Who asks, regarding the Soul Taker sword.
I'm your father, and I'm concerned that your finger's gray, son. You gotta wash it.
You gotta have your fingers grace on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, pray to it.
Yeah. Regarding the Soul Taker sword, which I wouldn't advise getting killed by, as it TRPAS.
I don't mistype.
Oh, it's traps. I see. Yeah,
This is so fucked.
traps the soul of its victims. Easy as mowing the lawn.
It's just fully Rick Flagg's lines from that movie.
Yes. Used by Katana. Where does it come from, and how did she acquire it? I think we've already talked about that.
Well, yeah, she gets it from.
Also, did DC ever try to try for any poor taste atomic or nuclear themed Japanese characters.
I mean, the closest you get is maybe like what's it called, like Big Atomic Lantern Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right though. Like, I don't. I think Big Science Action. Here's what I'll say on that second point.
Yeah.
The one thing I seem to remember about Big Science Action is that the threats that they face are like, or it's mentioned at some point that they're very like, they're like kaiju specialists.
Sure.
Like,
Which is
it's not
something
that that's
interesting.
the only threat that happens in Japan, but there is something interesting about the idea of like incorporating that sort of pop cultural element where it's like, but because it's Japan and there are kaijus, they got really good at fighting them.
Yeah.
So it's like Big Science Action almost has like a specialization. Like,
I like that.
that's the people you should call if you got kaiju problems.
Sure, yeah, which I actually really like.
I don't even remember when or how that came up, but it might even be in just like one of those weird like cutout things in Doomsday Clock or something. But I seem to recall that, which is sort of funny. So that in that sense, there is an element of like incorporating the post-atomic panic and what it did to pop culture and stuff like that. But yeah, you're not, as far as I know, someone will point out something. I don't think you're walking around with someone who's like, you know, I'm villain Shima
Sure.
instead of Hiroshima.
No. Not gonna stop me.
You're not gonna stop me. It's me, Osaka Punch.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have infinite strength if you don't see me.
That's good.
Yeah, I don't. I as far as I know, there's not a ton of like specific references to that. But the kaiju thing is obviously like that comes from that place. Okay, what was the first part of this?
Oh, just the Soul Taker sword.
The Soul Taker sword. Okay. The Soul Taker sword.
Do we know anything more beyond the fact that she got it from?
She gets it from Takeo. He gets it because he's trained by the Yakuza. Like, I think at some point, like, they steal it. It is like an ancient weapon. Somehow the Yakuza get their hands on it. He takes a liking to it. He uses it to kill Masao, his brother, Katana's husband. And then she takes it and becomes hers. At one point in the New 52, they did a thing where they retconned like what the Creeper was.
Oh,
The character, the Creeper.
yeah.
Which in regular comics, it's like Anchorman Jack Ryder. He presses this like button in his wrist and it's like this weird serum-y thing or whatever. And it turns him into this like indestructible like maniac called the Creeper with yellow skin and like green undies and red furry on his back. And that's the Creeper. For a bit in the New 52, they made the Creeper like what's the word? Like an oni, like a demon, like a Japanese demon spirit, like almost
That's
with
cool.
a dragony kind of face. And there was a connection with the Soul Taker sword and Katana.
Oh,
and
interesting.
The Creeper, to the point where during Villains Month, at the start of Forever Evil, the Creeper was one of the special issues that came out.
Oh.
And it was tied to the Soul Taker sword and stuff like that.
Oh, hell yeah.
I think that's all been retconned out since, but that was like, maybe it did does it have to be the Creeper? No, it could have been like anything else, but it was like kind of interesting to put something else in there. The idea that in the Soul Taker sword, there might also be this like demon soul or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, beyond that, do I know a ton about the Soul Taker sword? Not necessarily. I mean, but the Yakuza get their hands on it. I don't know if I know its like full origin.
Yeah, because that would be an interesting thing to learn a bit more. I like I'd love to see who created it, how was it created, that kind of stuff. But
I'm doing the thing I don't often do, but I'm just going to the wiki quickly. It's a pretty abridged history.
Sure.
It's made in the 14th century. The sword was enchanted. And then in the 20th century, it was found by a general, and then it was sold to the Yakuza.
Sure.
So really, we're not filling in much more than what I had there. But.
Fair. All right. With that, let's go to the next question from Cosmic DM Crunchy.
Oh, sorry. I should mention another New 52 thing. A story that we've talked about before is from the Lemire Sorrentino run of Green Arrow.
Oh, okay.
The idea of the Outsiders War. This is the one where it was like there were these like weapon clans. There was the Arrow clan.
Oh.
And there was the Fist clan and like nice. There were like the Shield clan and stuff like that.
The Foot clan.
There was a Sword clan.
Yeah.
And the totem weapon of the Sword clan was the Soul Taker's sword. Katana was the leader of the Sword clan. In the way that Green Arrow, Green Arrow rejected it, but was essentially meant to be the leader of the Arrow clan.
Sure.
And things like that. So that, again, another kind of New 52ism that's largely forgotten about.
Sure.
But yeah.
Cosmic DM asks, what characters do you think have a Japanese accent but aren't written phonetically?
Well, I mean,
that always also makes me super
I
uncomfortable
haven't
when they do that.
necessarily uncovered or encountered the stuff. I would somewhere there must be
Egg foo.
That kind of like
Yeah.
I mean, that's Chinese, but it's the same idea of like writing. I mean, go back to the 40s when it was like buy war bonds or whatever.
Yeah.
The Fleischer Superman, like the 4th episode of it is called Japotage.
Jesus.
And you're like, woof.
Yeah.
Like those go from like, oh, it's Superman's punching a robot to like buck teeth.
Oh,
like,
no.
Like fucking it's bad. It's pretty bad.
It's funny. Not funny, but I just watched a documentary series about the Cold War.
Sure.
And they talk about sort of like how they got there. They talk about World War II a lot. And one of the things that they talk about that's super interesting is like the way that they treated Germans in comparison to the way they treated Japanese.
Yeah.
And like they treated Germans like these like they were like evil and like coming up with these like evil ideas and they were up to no good. And the Japanese were like treated like subhuman basically. Like and it's like such a huge difference like in the way that they sort of positioned them. The same thing with like the Vietnamese,
For me, most of the Japanese characters that I think of, so like Dr. Light or Katana or whatever, when they speak in English, they just write it in, like no one is trying to write the accent.
Yeah.
But I hear in my head they all have Japanese accents.
Okay, well, how would that sound?
A little something like this.
Are they in the room right now? Yeah. So there's something in his eye.
So I hear them as having accents for sure.
Yeah.
But they don't write them that way. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can think of a character who is meant to be Japanese who I don't hear with an accent.
Ryan Choi.
Is Ryan Choi meant to be Japanese?
Or an Asian accent, I guess.
Fucked of you. So fucked up. Well, actually, because of the Snyder Cut, I do kind of hear him with it. I think in the comics, I wouldn't have.
Sure.
That is one I wouldn't have heard with an accent, but
typically, if you see an Asian-looking person, you just assume they have an accent.
That's so fucked of you.
But
absolutely messed up, but so accurate. No, maybe like Toy Man, like Hiro Okamura.
Sure.
The second Toy Man or whatever. Maybe I wouldn't hear an accent there, even though we probably should have one.
It's kind of fucking...
I shouldn't say that.
No, it would make me feel more comfortable if he did.
But definitely things like Super Young Team, like especially when we're like playing off the idea of like how they talk. Like the dialogue of Super Young Team is like written in that like it's written in that cadence. The only thing I could think of is like, on TikTok where it's like the person in like the on the gamer like
Sure.
chat. It was like, oh my god, a gamer girl is here.
Oh, like that
I better
anime style,
that
like-
heightened kind of thing. Super Young Team is written that way, so it's not written with an accent, but it's written with a cadence where I go, I know
It's
exactly.
like manga anime
where
sort
even
of
if
thing.
I'm technically hearing it without an accent, I'm so associating it
Totally.
that it's like it might as well be. You know, what I mean?
100%.
There's an element of that, I think, with some of them.
Totally.
I guess I just assume Sunny Sumo has an accent, but I don't necessarily think I hear him with one.
Sure.
I definitely hear Kimio Hoshi one, but that's because they make a big point out of the fact that she, like when she first pops on the scene, she doesn't speak English and actually causes a fight with other heroes because she can't communicate. Superman has to show up and he's like, and I know every language, and he's
I
the
use
first one
super
to talk to her.
translation.
Yeah. You know, and then she's granted the ability to understand English during
Wow.
Crisis. Like
Yeah.
it's really pointed out. So that one's in there. And Katana, her whole thing is about like the Yakuza, you know, this
Yeah,
samurai sword and all this kind of stuff that I go like, and in every media that I've seen Katana in, I hear her with an accent.
Sure.
Yeah.
Next question from Bisexual Lad, who asks, Karate Kid is often portrayed as white passing, and that can be kind of awkward given he's surpassed everyone from the cultures he's learned from. On the other hand, when they make him fully Japanese, he ends up being stereotypically the one Asian guy on the team who, of course, is the martial arts master, which is in poorer taste.
So Karate Kid, Val Armour. This is from the 31st century. This is the Legion of Superheroes.
Sounds like real Iron Fist situation.
So Val's father is Japanese. Val's from Earth.
Okay.
He's on the Legion. He's from Earth. His father is Japanese. His mother is American, I believe. Which, like, the idea that America exists in the 31st century. Be lucky to make it out of the 21st.
Yeah, truly.
Karate Kid's thing is being a master of every martial art across the cosmos.
Wow.
You know, has trained in every possible way, knows every move, knows all the things.
Sure.
And to the point where he can sense the weakness in things and like materials and that he can hit things at their weakest point.
Oh, wow.
Stuff like he technically doesn't really have powers, but that's sort of like an ability of his.
Sure.
So Karate Kid is this like incredible hand-to-hand combatant, this amazing martial artist that's on the Legion of Superheroes as a person with no powers. And as you know, the Legion, the whole point of them is that everyone from different planets is bringing their like powers to bear for the team. So cool that he gets to make the team without them. To the point about, you know, which is worse. The white passing thing is like kind of shitty, but it's also the future and everyone's an alien. If you go to the 60s and you're reading the Legion, everyone's also white, which seems unlikely.
Yeah.
You know, at least the modern Legion, we go like Lightning Lad's black, you know, like
Yeah.
the Matter Eater lad is sort of like, I don't know, but he's kind of looks Hispanic a little bit,
Sure.
you know, like they're all aliens still, but we're just kind of going like, you could do the like, we're just trying to bring more diversity. You could be green. You could, you're like whatever. So there's that. You kind of, at a certain point, you kind of have to go like, a bunch of those Legion stories are just from the 60s and everyone looks human and white. You just go like, well, that's a write-off,
Totally.
you know? The more modern ones and him being Asian and the Asian martial arts, again, because it's the future, I don't know that it's a stereotype.
Oh, interesting.
It is in the sense that we are reading it and the Asian guy's
And
this
it
amazing-
wasn't written in the future.
and this Asian guy is this amazing fighter, but it's like, it's not because they're all from different planets. It's not like Ultra Boy is going like, teach me the ancient secrets
Sure.
the way that like fucking Daniel LaRusso would in Korea, like in the movie, like,
Yeah.
please, Mr. Miyagi, like whatever. Like,
Yeah.
so you don't have that dynamic of like, and will you teach me? So I think that makes it a little bit better. But like, is one better than the other or worse than the other? I don't know. I honestly, I think a little bit. I think it's got to be careful how I phrase this. It might be worse the more Asian you make him. Because you're saying the only like way that a person with no powers from Earth is getting on here is if they're Asian as hell. They know all the martial arts.
Because then it's like all Asian people know martial arts.
It's the thing of like the dehumanizing thing of like, and you're all good at math. You do
sure,
this, or whatever. Like,
you might.
It might be worse, but like, I'm also like,
the right person.
I really can't weigh in. You know? Like that's
all right. Next question comes from Post Almond Clarity, who asks,
do you ever just eat a bunch of nuts and you get hit with that Post Almond Clarity?
Yeah, I was just like, why did I eat that whole bag?
Yeah.
Just because I found it.
Have you ever tried alternate milks and then just been like, oh, why did I swallow instead of spit? Sure. I had that Post-Almond Clarity.
I don't know. Yeah. How did I get to this point?
Yeah. What would my father think? Yeah.
Whatever happened to Rising Sun? Rising Sun go away when Moon come out.
I don't know what that was, but I don't like it.
I was responding in the way that the question was written.
Whatever happened to Rising Sun is a complete sentence.
Yes.
So what did you do?
So I said, whatever happened to Rising Sun? Rising Sun go away.
I know, but why is yours not a real sentence? Whatever happened to Rising Sun is a complete sentence. Grammatically proper.
Unless you're talking about the actual Rising Sun, which is what I was doing. If you weren't talking about it as a character...
I don't get this bit.
If you were talking about...
I don't know what you're doing, but I don't like it.
If you were talking about the sun that is rising, you wouldn't say whatever happened to Rising Sun. You would say whatever happened to the Rising Sun.
Oh, it's not just a Britishism? Like when they go like, I've got to go to hospital.
Yeah, no. So I was trying to make a joke as if he was talking about the actual sun. So whatever happened to Rising Sun go away, Moon come up.
Right. It's a pretty good joke.
Thanks. Jesus. It makes it good too because I explained this is just me every day with my fucking girlfriend. She's like, why did Reed buy you a thing that says guzzle? And I'm like, oh, look.
Why wouldn't I?
I mean, I agree. Yeah. Or she's like, why did he get you this?
I love the idea that you had to explain to your girlfriend that the word guzzle can only be used in conjunction with the word cum, which is so funny to me.
It's also, why did he get you this blue volcano guy? And I go, because he's so sexy. Why is he so sexy? And she goes, is he? And I was like, just get the fuck away from me. If you don't understand that it's sexy, I don't even know who you are.
That's love.
Look. It's why we're going to England.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
And maybe not coming back.
Yeah, baby. What was the question?
Whatever happened to Rising Sun?
I mean, truly, I have no fucking idea. He probably died.
Oh.
I mean, with a lot of these characters, especially like Global Guardians, stuff like that, it's like they're cannon fodder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You want to show that something's going bad internationally, you kill a bunch of the Global Guardians or something. I couldn't tell you what happened to Rising Sun. I do think, like I said, that he and Kimio Hoshi had a thing for a bit. Rising Sun had like solar powers. He could like channel solar energy.
Sure.
Not in the way that Superman does, more in the way that Starfire does.
Okay.
Where he became like energy beams, like
sure,
auras around his fists as he punched and stuff like that. It's but that's kind of like a tired naming convention too. It'd be like if every Canadian superhero had to be like, I'm Johnny Canuck.
Sure, yeah.
It's cool, man.
I'm the Leaf.
I'm Mr. Maple Leaf. All right.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm Rising Sun. Great.
Yeah.
You know? The Sunny Sumo.
Yeah.
It's like other people just get to be like, I'm the Lizard. They don't have to be like, it's me, Bald Eagle. Like, no one's doing that in America. Or I mean, some are. There's Agent Liberty and like characters like that. But it is funny when like we do like world characters and be like, we need to be able to immediately know where they're from. So it's like Beefeater. He's obviously English.
The Samurai, aka Chopstick.
There's always shit like that where it's like, oh, Il Dottore.
Yeah.
Like, oh, is he Italian? Maybe. Like,
Sure.
There's
Yeah,
always,
yeah.
there's always shit like that. I couldn't tell you what happened to Rising Sun though.
Fair.
Yeah.
Next question comes from Constipated Gandalf, who also wants to know whatever happened to Hiro Okamura, Toyman.
Yeah. Whatever happened to the hero Okamura? I guess is.
No.
I don't get the joke.
But you just got it.
Well, time passes, Richard.
It does. And soon your child will be out of the house.
Oh no. Oh no.
Cats in the great
She wants to get her ears pierced. And
I know. I came over.
It's too grown up.
Came over and immediately was like, I'm gonna get my ears pierced. This is what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna have her for this wedding. Soon it'll be her wedding.
I hate this. So Hiro Okamura is like a heroic Toyman. So Toyman historically of adversary of Superman. Winslow shot the Toyman. He would like make giant robots and gimmick things, like he was like an inventor kind of thing.
Sure.
So it would always be these toys or whatever. And then Hiro Okamura came around, I think, in like the mid 2000s or early 2000s, and was this like young Japanese, like brilliant, like rich inventor. He's like a 16-year-old with a trust fund that just could
interesting.
make anything. And I can't remember like the setup of it, but I think it's somewhere around what like that kind of Public Enemies arc, like where Lex is president and the kryptonite meteor is coming and stuff like that.
Okay.
And he builds them a giant like spaceship that's like the composite Superman, where it's like half Superman, half Batman.
Oh.
Because he's like a big fan. So like his thing is like, yeah, I can build it, but I'm also gonna build it like crazy. Like he builds it like a fucking Gundam.
It's like Hideo Kojima kind of like.
Totally. So then,
yeah.
They have to fly that, like Batman has to fly that thing into space or whatever. But Hero, like, he would show up again at like basically as an ally to Superman and Batman.
Sure.
Largely to Superman and Batman, but like also just generally. He definitely showed up in the New 52 era. Again, though, I think in the Superman Batman book, there was an arc that had Hero in it, where some of his like gadgets and shit were going haywire, and they were like in all these games and toys and that sort of thing, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, he's like, so in the way that like Kimio Hoshi is the second Dr. Light, but is a hero and is not a villain, it has nothing to do with the original. Yeah. Hiro Okamura is like the next Toyman, but is a hero, not a villain, and has nothing to do with Winslow Shot, really.
Oh.
I think at one point later, there's some sort of like retribution thing where Winslow goes after him because he's like, I'm the Toyman, goddammit. But like in his inception, I'm pretty sure he just kind of pops up on his own.
Oh, wow.
I don't know when the last time we would have seen him is. I don't know if it is as far back as Superman, Batman, like in the New 52. Or Batman Superman, I guess, was the actual title of the book. That's the Greg Pak run on that, I think. I don't know if that's the last time that we saw him, or if he even maybe he had like a little cameo appearance in like Metal, or was he in Absolute Power? Or no, do you know what? It might have been in Metal. Hero might have made at the very start of Dark Knight's Metal, the first Metal. They're on War World and they're fighting in a fucking Justice League Gundam.
Oh.
Like a fucking Megazord. Hero might have built that one for
that
him.
would
He
make
might have been
sense,
referenced there. That might be it.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure, but it could be that one.
Well, let's continue the Kimio conversation because Major Flying Impulse Major asks.
Sounds like you're part of Big Science Action.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Can you talk a bit about Sunburst? I know he died helping Kimio Hoshi during Crisis, but not much has been mentioned of him since. What are your thoughts on his powers, origin, general inclusion into the super lore? Sunburst. I don't think I've ever heard of Sunburst.
So Sunburst is a Japanese superhero who kind of like his costume sort of looks like. Have you seen the costume of like the Marvel character Star Fox?
Oh yeah,
Like the one who's like Thanos' cousin or whatever.
yeah.
Was like Harry Styles at the end of Eternals or whatever. Sunburst's costume looks almost identical to Star Fox's costume. It's like the red with the white V. Shit like that. They definitely, they're not like a big character. I think they were in Big Science Action. They show up in the 80s. They definitely die. They die in Crisis 12, which is the same issue where Dawn Hall Dove dies.
Oh.
Which is sort of sad in a way where it's like they've kind
Undercuts
of already
it a bit, yeah.
They've sort of already beaten kind of the big thing, but it's like all the shadow demons and stuff like that. But he dies there. I think he just dies to a shadow demon. Same as Dawn Hall, actually, really. I think he just kind of goes down that way. He's like a movie actor or something, but he gets that's what it is. He gets he gets solar energy abilities, so sort of like Rising Sun. But it has something to do with a volcano. He gets like volcano chemicals that activate a power for
So
him.
a lot of like the same shit, hey, for like these Japanese characters.
Yeah, it's pretty like phoned in.
Like it's all very like energy and light focused.
100%. Which like maybe that's like the back to that other question about like the atomic thing or whatever.
Yeah, maybe that's the connection.
Maybe
but
that's it. Where
it
it's
just
all
doesn't
this,
not
like,
tied in closely. So
it's not
hard.
close enough. It's not like radiation.
Yeah,
but maybe that's too close
yeah.
to home or whatever. But like,
I
think it's like because like again the rising sun, like all that, like the imagery. I think of Japan.
There's just so many. It's starting to become like uninteresting.
But yeah, the weird thing with Sunburst is that he got solar powers, but he didn't get them from the sun. He gets them from a volcano, or like the chemicals of a volcano activate his metagene or something.
It's not
like
a sunburst at all.
It was, although he's in the early 80s, so it's probably before the metagene. But but he just straight up dies in Crisis. I don't think he's ever come back.
Jeez.
Because Rising Sun, they're separate characters. Rising Sun and Sunburst are not the same character. But yeah, he's pretty minor, I think, really.
All right. Last question from Drago, the Black Rose, who asks, do you think that Samurai from Super Friends can be introduced into proper DC comics?
I think they have been.
Oh, interesting. Really?
Like all those characters that were like
in Super Friends?
Like those extra Super Friends characters that were like, and here are the races.
Yeah.
Like
it's a real like fucking Village People of characters.
But like they certainly in other media, they've brought them in. Like Young Justice brought them in as like a group alongside like Static Shock. Brought them in,
interesting.
I should say. Brought them in, like there was like Long Shadow and stuff like that. In Justice League Unlimited, they used those characters. They changed their backstories. They made them these like kind of weird clone Cadmus projects of Waller's called the Ultimen, maybe, or something like that.
That sounds familiar.
Where they were like, she cloned like dozens of them and then used them as an army to attack the Justice League.
Oh, wow.
But like Samurai, he's the one that had the wind powers, right?
Interesting. I don't know.
Let's see here. Yeah, he's on Super Friends for sure. Okay. They brought them in Doomsday Clock.
Really?
Yeah, there you go. So he's probably on. He might be referenced as being like part of like Big Science Action or something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
Ability to whirlwind or control winds. That was Samurai's power. So technically, I think have been introduced.
I call him Samurai then,
but hasn't been used like a ton. Hasn't really? We haven't really explored that character. Now I don't know if part of that is that there's like a weird rights thing.
Because of Super Friends? Oh,
You know,
sure.
like I'd be lying if I said I really understood the landscape of some of this stuff, but like we know that even in DC, it's like you're making a TV show, you can't use that character.
Yeah,
You have a
yeah.
blah, 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 you can't do
Yeah,
that.
even
This
with the characters that
was like,
DC owns,
it was a special contract, and they have a co-creation, or like whatever. So I don't know if being on Super Friends affected some of those, because like Long Shadow, or that wasn't his name on Super Friends. That's another character that we don't see a ton. You know, the Wonder Twins we see the most out of those kind of extra characters. They get some of their own books sometimes, or they show up a lot.
Yeah.
You see the Wonder Twins a lot, but I wonder if there's some sort of thing about rights or something, because you really don't see them. But yeah, technically Samurai is in there in Doomsday Clock. Is referenced as a Japanese superhero.
So the lesson for today is that they really don't like give very much like care to these characters.
Not to some of them. Like some of them are, you know, like no, you're right. You're right. There should be more.
Like it feels like not enough thought and care was put into a lot of these characters, and they aren't fighting that much to bring many of them back. And
true. And you know, and that obviously, you know, it's you know, white American centric. You still in the DC universe, despite all the other advances made or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's lots, but it is funny too, where it's like, I would say at least there's a couple of prominent Japanese characters, in a way that there's like not necessarily really big prominent Germans,
sure,
you know, or what, you know, or something like that. So it's something, but it's small. But like Katana is a huge character in comic circles, you know. Maybe not if you go outside.
There's not a ton of like Slavic characters or like Turkish.
No, there's a few, you know, and certainly the outsiders, like you had Geoforce at least.
Sure,
and some stuff like that.
But it's true. Like I think there's obviously clearly like underrepresentation.
Outside of America, you get what you get. You know what I mean?
I did like the Superman run that I read where he goes to Japan.
Yeah, that's kind of neat.
There's some really cool characters there that like we hadn't even talked about today.
Yeah,
and,
that's
like,
true.
There's some good stuff in that.
Yeah,
it would be nice to see a bit more now. Like we're in a more.
I think one that we didn't talk about, if I'm not mistaken, I think Lady Shiva is Japanese.
Oh, interesting.
Sandra Wusan. Maybe I'm wrong. Someone might correct me there. I feel like Lady Shiva might be.
Yeah.
Which is another big character, if true.
Huge, yeah.
But then it's a lot of supporting characters. You get a character like O Sensei or something like that. Or, you know, Richard Dragon was obviously white. You know,
yeah.
Kung Fu Master Richard Dragon.
Wild.
So, you know. But yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it's just the problem you get anytime you leave America, essentially, is it's like, well, we already have one there. And you go like, that's not how it
works.
Right?
Yeah.
We already have one with sun powers. It's like, but what if he gets them from a volcano?
Yeah. Okay, but what about this one with the sun power, or this one with the sun power?
We've got Rising Sun, Sun Boy, Most Excellent Shining Day.
Yeah.
You know, like
fucking Dr. Light. Like,
yeah. You're right. It's such a pattern.
Yeah.
You're either a samurai or you have energy like
yeah, either you're associated with a sword or you're light.
Yeah, that's it.
Swords and light.
The two things you could be as a Japanese character. Yeah.
Jesus. Well, that is it for this week. If you want to send a question for next week's episode,
you'll see the post go out.
You'll find that when it's there
for $4.99. Because remember, this is the April 2 500. Jesus Christ.
Subscribe to us on Patreon,
baby. Patreon.com/editpoint. That's the home now for all of our extra content.
Look at me. That's the home now.
Nice. All the old double doses are up there. The Bunker Report from Ghostfacers. And, of course, our current weekly bonus episodes. You wanted more. It were so many sequels. And at the higher level, all of those rewatch series that I do with guest hosts. I got another one kind of cooking in the works, and I think I'm ready to talk about soon, but not quite yet.
I hope it's not the one that you talked about around me, because I'll be very jealous.
I don't know, but we'll see.
Okay.
But yeah, all of that helps to support us. So patreon.com/editpoint.
What was that other podcast you talked about?
Ghost Faces, a supernatural rewatch. If you want to hear our insane 9/11 conspiracy, if you want,
hey, it's me, your cousin Marvin Bin Laden.
We watch every single episode of the CW Supernatural. We talk about real world monster lore, behind the scenes stuff about the show. We're in season 11 of 15 right now. So there's only 2.5 more years of this show.
Oh my God. Before we know it, it'll be over.
Yeah.
And your child will be out of the house.
Shut the fuck up.
All right. That's it for this week. Ciao, ciao.
Adios. Whoa, you forgot it.
Heroes, they always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure, they are